In this video, we're going to get introduced to JavaScript. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a computer programming language that is used to create scripts for HTML documents. And it's usually used to create some interactive effects which will make the user experience more interactive with the web browser. So they will be able to change HTML content, for instance, and also they can change styles. Alright, so we're going to be creating our first example in this session. And before we do that, we're going to create our JavaScript folder in the project folder. So we're going to call it JavaScript. And let's open it using brackets. All right. Now, what we want to create here is a web page that will show an alert message when loaded. So basically, we're going to need to create an HTML file. Let's call it alert message. And then inside the file, we're going to need to create our JavaScript code. So the code is embedded in the HTML file. Okay, so we're going to create our web page from scratch. So let's start with our doc type that we will set to HTML, and then we're going to have our HTML section, and inside this we're going to have the head section and then the body section. Okay, so in the head, let's have our meta character sets. Let's set it to UTF-8, and let's have a title, and let's call it alerts message. Now, going to the body, let's define a paragraph and have some text in it, JavaScript. All right. Okay. So now we want to create some code that will show up an alert message when the page is loaded. So we're going to need some JavaScript code. Basically, there are several ways of doing this. So we can write the code inside the head element. Also, we can write it inside the body element. One good way is to write it in the body element. So we have a choice between writing it at the beginning of the body or at the end, just before the close tag. And the best way is to write the JavaScript code just before the close tag. And the reason why is we want the web page to load first, and then we want the code to be executed to avoid any delays. Okay, so the syntax is simple. We're going to need a script tag. Okay, and then we write our code inside the script tag. You may want to add an attribute to the script tag showing the type of the scripting language that you're using. By default is JavaScript, so you don't have to add these attributes, but if you want to, the syntax is type and basically it's going to be text JavaScript. Okay. All right, and now let's write our code. Basically, JavaScript consists of statements. So a statement is a piece of code followed by a semicolon. So in our case, we're going to use a function called the alert function, and we're gonna need a string inside the brackets of this function, and then we need to follow that by a semicolon. So let's choose a string that we put between double quotes, and let's call it welcome to JavaScript. So we are expected to see this message show up when the page is loaded. So I'm just going to save the code, Control S. Okay, and now let's refresh the page, and as you see, we're getting an alert message, welcome to JavaScript. All right. Okay, so now we're going to try to use external JavaScript. So we're going to put our code in an external file, and then we will need to link our HTML file to that external file to run the code. So let's create a new folder inside JavaScript. Let's call it JS. And then inside this folder, we're going to create a new file. It's going to be a JavaScript file. We're going to call it code.js. Okay. And what we're going to do, we're just going to take this statement, only the code. We don't need the script tag, only the code, and we're going to paste it there. Okay. So Control S to save. Okay, so you've got an error showing there. We're going to come back to it in a bit. So for now, we're just going to delete this statement. So we don't need the code anymore. And all we need is a source attribute to tell the browser where is the external JavaScript. Okay, so it's going to be JS /code.js. Okay, so let's go back to our JavaScript file and deal with this error. So what the error is saying, it's saying that the alerts function was used before it was defined. And the reason why we get this error is because alerts is actually a method of an object. We're gonna understand this a little bit more when we cover objects. So normally, as alert is a method of an object, which means that it's a function of an object, we need to specify what objects we are talking about, which is window in our case. So basically the objects window has got some methods, and one of the methods is alert. And the way to do that is by going objects.method or function like this. Okay. So now if we save, Control S, we'll see that the error disappears. Okay. So basically you don't have to use this full syntax. Only alerts will work. Okay. But it is better if we have the whole thing window.alert. Okay, so if we refresh the page, we can see that actually this is working. Okay, so this is how JavaScript works. In the next video, we will start looking at buttons.